Assalamualaikum, and very good afternoon a bit to everyone. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for staying with us. I know Muslim friends are fasting today, so please stay with us. Please bear for the next 40 minutes. Okay, so, and today's topic, we're going to talk about cybersecurity and privacy in digital and AI ecosystem. So where today we will explore how AI ecosystem and digital twins, as well as the IT-OT convergence are reshaping the cybersecurity, and what organizations can do to stay resilient in the face of cyber threats and risks associated with it. Okay, so just give you a little bit of introduction about myself. My name is Amalina. I'm a senior front-end engineer at Petronas. My role is to develop oil and gas facilities, mainly upstream, offshore. And in my previous project, I've gotten the opportunity to develop the remote autonomous operation for a newly built platform. So while I may not be an cybersecurity specialist or AI specialist, but I do understand, I do know how important it is to have a robust cybersecurity, especially in our oil and gas industry. Okay, so I'm joined by three fantastic speakers here. So let me introduce them. We have the first one, Mr. Lok Kwok Tong. He is the Cybersecurity Director at EY. And we have Mr. Sharul Rashid. He is the Executive Director at Digital Energy Asia. And we have Mr. Said Mohsin Al-Moza, Cybersecurity Category Manager at BP. Welcome, gentlemen. Can you introduce your, give sharing about your experience and backgrounds with respect to cybersecurity to the audience? I'll start with you, Mr. Lok.
Okay, thanks, Amelina. So hi everyone, I'm Lok. So I kickstarted my career 10 years ago, not in the cybersecurity field. I started as a HSC engineer. So, across my years of experience in shipyard in Singapore, all the way to my previous consulting firms, that's when I start to do more digital implementation and start to play more opportunity to work with cybersecurity. That's when I start to see the value and also the passions. So that's where I am today and hope to share a bit more on cybersecurity aspect in the digital twin and also AI aspect with all of you today.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. I'm Sharul Abdul Rashid. Last week Adam contacted me. He tried to contact me to LinkedIn. I was not really active that time. So he contacted me through email. So I responded, yeah, sure. So here I am. I've been in Petronas, actually former Petronas staff, joining Petronas as measurement engineer, actually, 1990. I retire 2024. I know Prakash and many more people here. And Luke was with us when I led this OT cybersecurity framework for Petronas. In 2018, we started the work, and Accenture was there as a consultant. So Luke was there. So we were in contact virtually. Now in person I met. Finally. Also in person I met you. We were in contact all virtually in the past, right? So, okay. In terms of cybersecurity, I was in the past has been in asset management, instrumentation, and control for the past 20 years. But suddenly in 2018, there is a big push for Petronas to actually make cybersecurity as an enterprise lens, to combine the IT and the OT, so that there is, if any attack happens to Petronas, there's a single lens of truth, one enterprise level. In the past, IT and OT, they are very much diverged. IT say, don't touch, this is my territory. In the world of manufacturing, we have five, what do you call it, Purdue model, 5 level. Level 0, level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Level 3.5 is where the demarcation between IT and OT. So we don't try to cross over because this is actually a very clear demarcation. But right now, we want to make sure this is actually transparent between level because of the connectivity, all the process, the data, the pressure, the level, the flow, the machine data need to pass on to the enterprise. Why? Because of that, the need for the AI computation to compute, to make this prediction, to make a decision making. So you need to connect to pass over to that level 4, level 5. That's where they're talking about cybersecurity.
Okay. Thank you, Sharul. Mohsin here. So, spent a lot of years in my career in energy. Mainly, I was in Shell, managing IT systems, and then head of IT. Then I moved to Petronas, actually. Spent some years running the Security Operations Center. That's where basically the center where we monitor any cybersecurity incident and we act on it. We set up that team for Petronas. Then I actually moved to BP, and it's quite interesting. I moved into procurement. The decision was actually for me to have a more holistic view of cybersecurity because it's not just technical solutions that you need to have. You got to have good commercial sense too. Because for us to sustain a business, you can't just be spending a lot on cybersecurity without the right values in place. But while I was doing that, we actually encountered a new risk that actually a lot of people are talking about, are also supplier risks within our ecosystem. So I think we're going to be talking a lot more in this forum. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for the introduction, gentlemen. So now we have 4 themes that we will be covering for today's conversation, which is cybersecurity roadmap, IT/OT network, data hygiene, and adversarial mindsets. We have 4 themes altogether, but we try to cover as much as possible. But if not, if we run short on time, we can address 1 or 2 themes during Q&A session. Yeah. All right. Now let's jump right into the first theme, cybersecurity roadmap. So I'm going to ask Lok first. Based on your perspective as a cybersecurity director, if you are designing a cybersecurity roadmap for an AI digital environment today, what would you prioritize for the first 12 months? What are your priorities?
Okay, so I'm going to start with a very consulting oriented. So every organization has its own landscape and also maturity. Of course, it varies. But for a generic response, I would prioritize 3 areas to kickstart for the first 12 months what I would want to do for my cybersecurity roadmap. So the first area, basically, I'll be covering the risk visibility. Do you already have a view on what are the risks by introducing digital twin and AI to your organizations? Is all these risks being assessed and all these risks being registered in your enterprise risk registers? Secondly, of course, is the governance. Is the right policy procedures all already in place? Is all the data ownerships, all the data that you'll be leveraging, already have the right data owner appointed? The RASI is clearly defined. That's on the governance area. And then the third one, of course, before I go into the third one, all this is to be done simultaneously. It's not to be done like in the stages. So the third one is basically the foundational control. So have all the control, basic control in place to make sure there is no unauthorized modifications to your models, to ensure that there is some monitoring in place for the models, and also to ensure that there is a proper monitoring mechanism to ensure the models is in place to make sure the cybersecurity is secure. So this is the 3 areas, basically: foundational control, risk visibility, and also governance. This is the 3 key areas I will look into in the first 12 months of my cybersecurity roadmap.
So those 3 are your priorities in the first 12 months, and I think those are clear and actionable. I think that's a very solid blueprint. Look, okay. Building up to that question, how do you communicate to the board about cybersecurity without creating unnecessary fear or panic? Because there's always a notion that when we talk about cybersecurity, it would hinder the AI innovation and whatnot, the creativity of it.
So to communicate to the board without creating, I think one of the key principles is don't use the end of the world AI scenario, like worst case scenario, to be communicating to your bot. Tie it to the business context. Always use business language. I think Mr. Prakash shared a very good, like, if the leaders care, what they care is the numbers. Tie it back to the numbers, like. And of course, when you communicate to the bot, to make sure does not create unnecessary fear, you also focus it on the mitigations. Like, you are bringing these are the threat landscape to the bot. Like, what are the mitigations that we will be putting in place? So not just bringing the problem and the risk, but also bringing what are the actions that we are doing and tie it to the value, to the metrics that the leaders care.
I think that's a very great point. If I may summarize, you were mentioning about staying focused, as well as positioning cybersecurity as a business enabler. Instead, I think that's a very powerful way to increase the confidence level among the board, the top management. Right, that's a very good perspective. So now I'll move on to Mr. Mohsin. From a category management standpoint, how do you ensure AI vendors are aligned with the cybersecurity roadmap?
I think to Luke's point, you got to have governance, of course. But I would say, holistically, you got to have fundamentals. You got to have the fundamentals right. Within the organization first, how do you believe cybersecurity should be, right? And then have all the guys in the company all educated as per needed. But more about what is out there, your third-party arrangement. The governance, I would say, the problem with governance is we got to be realistic. A more basically matured organization is easy to have governance. But something that is newer or smaller, and I would say this in some of the AI situation that we have, because some solutions are coming from very relatively new companies, right? So, and you would say that they do not understand their own risk. And cybersecurity is a very risk-based approach activity, right? It's not just rule, law, and order, because it started with that, but it doesn't work out that way, because we find out that risk is a very dynamic thing. It changes a lot of times, and threat landscape in cybersecurity also changes. You see a lot of things, a lot of threat nowadays are very organized, and this is where, when we engage with a supplier, we want to make sure that they have A or B or C in order before they're connecting to our organization. But more importantly, sometimes you got to build a bit of a partnership to make sure that we grow our risk-based approach protection together within the two organizations. So this is something that I would say that a lot of organization is starting to learn a bit better in the last few years.
So you're mentioning about the strategic partnership, right? So we are moving towards, we're talking about cybersecurity, approaching it in a risk-based approach. That's a very interesting point, interesting perspective to look at it. Okay, and how early should, to you as well, the next question. How early should cybersecurity be embedded into technology acquisition decisions?
Yeah, so again, it's very clear that at this moment of time, we've been dealing with, true cybersecurity threats for the last good 10 years. It should be more about, it's not even a mindset anymore, it should be a behavior. You know, cybersecurity should be just at the point when you start engaging, there has to be a cybersecurity terms in there. Just like when we talk about HSSC in energy sector especially. So we've learned from many decades of running energy operations that incidents with HSSC does have a big impact. And now, you know, cybersecurity incidents, the impact, it goes up to billions, and company reputation, etc. So it affects all that. You need to start from the beginning, the right foundations in place, and then move on from there.
So in a nutshell, you were saying that we have to treat cybersecurity as a core discipline, similar to how we treat other engineering disciplines, right? I mean, I'm from engineering background. So like how we are treating HSE, so we have to also treat cybersecurity as essential as HSE.
Just a quick point to that, actually. I've worked in refineries and all that in my career, and it's quite interesting how an engineering mindset works. Because engineering mindset, usually, it is kind of very focused on the task at hand, right? And that's where, in the older days, there's a lot of issues with HSSC, is because it's being a little bit put aside because they are managing the big task at hand. Because engineering work is very big in such operation. But then you realize that it has to become a culture, and it takes years to build that culture, that now, whenever someone has to start work, you have a permit, have you asked for approval, etc., right? So this is the same thing. And the problem that we see now is it's a little bit of you got to grow it up a bit. And the difference with cyber threat and HSSC is, HSSC you can still control in health and safety. You can stop work. But cybersecurity doesn't really work that way because it's not really a fair play. The hackers out there don't wait for you to get ready before they attack, right? It's not like a fair playing field there. You gotta be quick in getting to that standard, right? And you got to be quick to educate. Everyone needs to be on the ball on this. Yeah, no one should go, oh yeah, but this doesn't apply to me. It doesn't work that way.
It's about having that culture shift, right? Culture mindset shift, I would say. Okay, Mr. Sharul, question to you. From your view at Digital Energy Asia, how are regional players balancing the rush to adopt AI with the need of security? And are we seeing the unique Asian approach as compared to global standards? Because right now we see most companies adopting AI very rapidly. It's like a new goal. Like AI is a new goal, right? Over to you.
Right. When we are talking about rushing to adopt AI, this morning we are talking about understand the business pain point first, and the technology comes later. When I talk about this, there are three pillars that we need to look at when we want to make us from good to great, to become excellent, transformative, right? The people, the process, and the technology. Before we even go to technology, or even AI, we have to understand whether we can transform, make good to great by our own behavior, discipline ourselves, right? Discipline ourselves. That's number one. If we are not able to do that, exhaustive, not able to do that because for whatever reason, then look at the process. Can we improve the process? Right? And after exhaustingly improve the process, then only then come with the technology. But even with the technology also doesn't mean that AI will be the technology. There are many other technology. There are various technologies in the world. But okay, fine. You don't have, now you go AI. The moment you are using AI, then you must understand, do you have enough infrastructure? I mean, the whole day we talk about data, we talk about data contextualization, we talk about data warehousing, we talk about, data injection. And the moment we talk about data, we are talking about, maybe we talk about personal data, then talk about privacy. The moment we talk about the data, we are talking about the potential data poisoning. We're talking about potential people, the bad intent people, the hackers will be able to inject this attack through the data that move from, for example, from the floor level, shop floor, all the way to the enterprise. Why? Because of the connectivity. Because of the connectivity, the data which is residing in the shop floor that required to be analyzed. And the computing power is not there at the shop floor. The computing power is there at the cloud. We don't have the high processing power at the shop floor. So we need to move the data to the cyberspace. That's where the cyber attack come in. The terminology is the cyber attack coming in. Right. And this is where the moment this vulnerability presence, this is where the framework must be in. We have to understand how to make sure that this attack this potential cyber attack can be, for example, make it robust against this, right? That's why we have these rules, data segmentation. We have these rules there are many rules in the cybersecurity education that we need to actually educate people, right? To make sure that this cybersecurity culture, resiliencies, compliance to the act, compliance to the, for example, IC 62443, ISO 27000, there are cybersecurity law, cybersecurity acts that is in place so that the industry players, the end users, will actually apply this, put into use to make sure that their systems are cyber resilient.
My second question on the Asian unique approach. Are we seeing any unique Asian approach as compared to global standards?
Okay. I'm not aware of any such regional approach, because this is actually a simple thing of data that you need to protect against, right? Against losses, against theft, against poison, against attack. So there are no such thing as regional. It is actually a global approach. Yeah.
So I would say it must be based on consensus-based approach,
Exactly.
globally recognized,
Exactly.
rather than the regional-based approach.
Yeah, it is consensus-based.
Consensus-based. All right, now let's move on to the next one. Next theme, IT, OT networks and interoperability. Mr. Locke, what do you think are the biggest risks when IT and OT become highly integrated, highly connected?
So when IT and OT integrated, basically there is a expanded attack surface for the threat actors to act on. And then I think throughout the whole days, we have also been hearing in the OT environment, there's basically a lot of legacy systems that previously, when they are not connected to any network, they're actually not out of reach by the threat actors. But then with the integrations, basically this will become the expanded attack surface become the key risk. And then also we heard throughout the days where how IT and OT have different protocol, these two, the misalignment between this protocol or lack of visibility of how these two protocol actually does not speak to each other, the gray area, these are the key risks when IT and OT converges and will definitely need to be addressed.
So that's a very clear breakdown. You mentioned that once IT and OT connect, the attack surface grow, and we still don't have the full visibility across these two environments, right? Okay, let's build on to that. Where do you see the weakest control point in IT-OT convergence?
I would think it's the convergence area, where the convergence layer, where between like I mentioned, the gray area between the OT protocols and IT protocol. Usually these are the areas with the least patching, least access controls. So this will be the key risk areas for IT-OT convergence.
The weakest control point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the convergence itself. All right, clear. Mr. Sharul, we've talked about bridge between IT and OT. In the region where many companies share offshore hubs, like in Malaysia, for example, we are sharing offshore hubs, right? Who should own the security of that integrated network?
Okay. It is if talking about plant, is the plant owner, the CEO, the plant owner, right? But then the plant owner, the CEO, will delegate, right? There are two terms that we use. I call it accountability and responsibility, right? And when it comes to this cybersecurity, interestingly, for example, from my own experience, the downstream, for example, we have when I carry project, let's talk about, there are two parts of the life cycle of the plant maintenance. One is the project cycle, the other one is the maintenance cycle. When you execute project, the projects comes from the project department where we have these various disciplines, mechanical discipline, rotating, electrical engineers, and now we have these IT guys that has to go, they have to come in. Because why? Because the injection of IT technology into the OT space. In the past many years, the OT space, the architectures very much legacy system. Does not have very much IT component inside that. But with that invention of these technologies, the IT software are all technology are being injected into the OT space, and that require you're actually inviting potential hackers, because hackers, they're actually very good in inflicting damages or attacking the IT technologies, but not on the OT. But because of the injection of IT technology into the OT also will get affected and be easily attacked by these hackers, right? That's why you require the building up of these cybersecurity tools to make sure that it's robust and resilient against cyber attack. And this is why in the OT environment, we have to make sure that when we design and we operate and we maintain, we have all these security, we have this, for example, the patching. Patching is one example. When there's a lot of software revision happening, and the software revision comes in with, it has to be a patch to make sure that there is no potential vulnerabilities. So the patching is to be done, but in the OT world, you cannot simply shut down the plant to allow the patching. You just cannot allow it to happen. So you must take different methods, for example. You must make sure that, for example, the physical security, you must have a smart card. People cannot go in and out simply. So you have to have physical security to make sure that nobody, that hackers cannot get access to the system to inflict damage, to bring in malware into the OT system. Right? So this is where the differences between the injection IT technology into the OT space has bring into this potential problem to the manufacturing. Yeah.
That's a very great perspective, Mr. Sharul. So you mentioned about the shared responsibility and shared accountability between companies rather than having only one company to carry the burden alone, right? Okay. Next to Mr. Mose, based on your experience, I imagine you were dealing with legacy assets, aging assets. How do you ensure that these legacy assets, they talk to the brand new equipment, AI-powered equipments? How do you ensure that those equipments are talking to one another without introducing the new risks?
Yeah, I think put it into a bit of a perspective here. Why have the legacy equipment in the first place, right? Is it because an old aging asset comes with a legacy equipment? Now, if most of the time that's the case. I mean, plants are built decades before this comes up, right? Now, we got to set up the right agreements in these legacy items. So now the problem we have is if that legacy equipment is not being serviced by anyone, why do you want to connect it? You're just providing risk. That's ideal, right? But there are suppliers or third parties out there that can manage this legacy equipment usually. It comes with a price. They have their own specific specialty or competencies to do that. We have to set up the right agreement for them. So the whole thing about shared accountability comes in place. So something needs to be binding the two. So based on my experience, setting up the right contract with the right cost and the right service level agreement would benefit both parties in sustaining such systems.
Setting the right contract, right? Okay, that really makes sense. Now let me push it a bit further. What do you think is the biggest mistake company does while connecting both legacy equipment with the new ones?
I think then balancing, we always talk about risk-based approach here. So if it's a low value system with a high risk, that is a different type of setup that needs to be done. But if it's a high value item with a high risk, then you got to have it. But again, the right setup needs to be done. I think the difference that we always miss out is we don't really analyze this risk in depth to make the right decision. We make decision based on what we want to have in there. We have to build towards what we need. And again, like I said, sometimes an engineering mindset where want and need is kind of close, right? Because it's sort of like straightforward thinking whereby we got to have this to work. But if you base on a risk-based approach, when you understand the risk of having such setup, you might wonder, do I need to work this way? Do I need to have a bit of a compromise to make sure that I don't take the cybersecurity aspect down below in terms of priorities? So that's, again, like, I think every time we go through such a situation, we got to really analyze this. And easier said than done, it takes time. It takes time. It takes a lot of learnings too. So it's not a decision that you have an hour in a meeting room to decide. It takes a lot of data, a lot of input, and a lot of shared decisions to get this done.
I think it all comes down to the earlier discussion on risk-based approach, right? Okay, gentlemen, I think I'm gonna pivot away from our structured themes. We're gonna go to the last theme, which is adversarial mindsets. Mr. Locke, what does it mean to adopt an adversarial mindset, and how should vulnerability management evolve in this digital twin?
Okay, so when we talk about adversarial mindset, when we want look at cybersecurity, when we talk about adversarial mindset, it's basically we no longer look at cybersecurity as we want to protect, just wanting to protect, just want to build a wall to secure it. But adversarial mindset means taking with you have the threat anticipations that your attackers, the threat actors will constantly going to be actively after you. So this is a mindset that you need to have, that you will need to be always anticipating attacks. And this is how your organization's defense will need to be keep on par with this, the attackers. So how the vulnerability management should be? Of course, you need to have a dynamic risk assessment to make sure that your risk is constantly being updated, any zero-day exploit being happening, any latest trend in the industry, your peers industry under similar issue, you need to be aware of that and update your risk assessments accordingly. And then you need to have a continuous monitoring of your systems. So to ensure that you're continuously monitoring your environment, to ensure everything is up to date. And then, of course, you need to have this adversarial mindset in terms of testing. You need to constantly test it's not the checklist that I have all my patch done, all the recommendation in my policies has been tested, considered enough. You need to have this thinking like an attacker. How would you, as an outsider with bad intention, how would you want to breach your organizations? And that's how you're supposed to manage your vulnerability.
So if I were to summarize, it is about having that attacker's mindset,
Yes.
trying to be inside of the mind of an attacker, learn how they manipulate the system.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, to Mr. Sharul, this is one last question. Our panel discussion, we see constant headlines about AI and data being used for governments and political agendas. In fact, recently I watched this documentary called The Great Hack, where they use AI and data for political campaigns in one of the countries. So it kind of makes me wonder, as an individual and organization, how can we prevent our personal privacy and professional operational data from being abused and harvested illegally?
Okay, that is why the Act is in place, right? To make sure that these security and privacies are being protected. Because when we are talking about data can be, as I mentioned this early on today, it can be personal identifiable information, PII. And this can be manipulated, and if it is basically get into the wrong hands, then it is a high risk to the person and high risk to the families, a high risk to the societies. So there are acts in place to make sure that these are not to be actually, they are being protected, the privacy data. So that's how, as far as I'm concerned, the act has to be complied. Yeah.
So the act must be in place.
Yeah, it's already in place. The Security and Privacy Act is already in place. It's just a matter of making sure compliance. Yeah.
Okay, so we have come to the last part of the discussion, the Q&A. So anyone would like to ask question, please come forward and come to the mic. Anyone? Or probably would like to give feedback on the theme that we have discussed just now on cybersecurity or advisory mindset.
Good evening, everyone. Just a quick question. There's always been a notion that cybersec is always a blocker for innovation in AI, especially Gen AI and agentic AI. So what's the panel's view on this? Thank you.
Who would like to take the question, Mr. Lok or Mr. Mohsin?
I mean, just from my point of view is, if adversarial mindset comes in place, right? I mean, this is new tech, and if you talk about risk, think about how this tech can be manipulated to provide harm instead of helping business. We talk about AI, machine learning, up to agentic. So what happens if a hacker gets hold of a machine learning tool, or worse, into an agentic tool? And usually how the threat work is, they work in silent, and then when they have like hold of it, they keep it in control for a long time until they know how they can actually use it. So these are sort of like things to consider when you're using such tools. Like, you got to have that mindset too, in case this gets compromised, what will happen? And then if you think that the protection in place is not good, like I can log onto this easily, there's no multi-factor authentication, so someone could just click a phishing link in your organization, they get hold of their email, they can log on to the tools and do something bad. So that's one of ways that I think you should be having in terms of mindset on how to protect.
Maybe I'll just add on a bit more on the mindset. So maybe switch a little perspective is we don't jeopardize life for any reason, regardless of what is the progressions or what is the innovations that going to bring us. We don't jeopardize life. So now with the IT-OT convergence, the impact of cybersecurity breach can be, if it's impact a plant, it can cause us explosions. So I think this is, of course, this is just one of the scenarios. It could be multiple scenarios. But then I think the mindset shift to embed cybersecurity in everything that you do. Cybersecurity is a must. It's like we don't, it's something that we just don't jeopardize or tolerate on. Then I think then we can still push innovation forward. So it's not a roadblock. It's something that we live along with. That's my view. Yeah. Thank you.
One more question. I think we can take one more question. Yeah.
Yeah, Chan from PTTP. I have two questions actually to the panelists. Agree with you that we are connecting IT to OT now because with AI we need to see the dashboard and then do a fast actions, respond to the whatever happening offshore actually. So my first question is that once you already have these connections and then more back and forth data exchange, those things. Of course, cybersecurity is a very important part. No matter how strong we design and then put a defense in in the system or in whatever layer that we have. So there's still a risk over there. As I agree with you, with Mr. Said Mohsin, yeah, we need to have a risk mindset. But of course, at the end, decision will go back. We need to do a fast reaction on the productions, and we need to make quick decision, especially at those brownfield. So my question is, no matter how strong we put the defense, there's still a risk. So I think we are thinking back, is there any way, instead of putting more defense, but you'll be penetrated by the threat actor actually. So my question is, do we explore like, we have another set of backup system ready always for the OT side? The OT, we never put a backup system in place. We always rely on, okay, we have a data streaming to the historian, and then that's it we use. And then nobody maintain, as you said, nobody maintain it. It's an aging asset. We put whatever, we put this contract services there, but it takes time to refresh. But my question is, do we explore like another backup system in place? Will it help us actually? We know it's expenses, but we don't know when you trigger to use the backup system. So I'm not sure whether is it worth we look at that aspect. Really, if you have this connection from OT to IT one day, at least if a threat actor come in and then lock down this historian system, OT, at least we can just shut down the OT, what we have, and then bring back this backup. Then we can start to stream the data back to onshore, and then we can continue to monitor the productions or all the activities offshore. So that's my first question. The second question actually is more on the, I forgot already. But anyway, let me think I come back to you.
We can answer the first question.
Can hear thoughts from you, Mr. Mohsin, yeah.
I think it's so funny you talk about backup, right? Again, I'll give another perspective. And this is just sharing from experiences from before. If I want to be a successful, it's not that I'm a hacker, but if I'm going to be successfully hacking a system, I would go for the backup first, right? Because if I can attack your backup first and then attack your main system, then you're going to be you're not in the loop anymore, you're dead, right? So the idea of just trusting backup, it can be good or it can be bad. But most of the time, it's good. It's good. Because when you have something attacked, refresh it with a backup, run. Don't stop operating. But again, I wanted to provide this perspective. If I go for your backup first, what's your backup plan? So again, when you talk about risk, it's not about just like I said, you don't want to just secure everything blindly. You got to be strategic about it, and it's all managing the risk. Some risk, if you think you can accept, because if it happens, it is realized, you can still operate your business. It doesn't, you can take that risk, rather than you spend a whole lot of money to think that I'm going to cover that portion of risk, right? So that's my...
Immutable backup copy we have for all the critical systems. So it is not the fact that the attackers will attack the backup first, because we are having this backup copy for immutable backup copy so that our business can restore and continue. So it's wrong perspective that hacker will attack the backup system.
No. Just to correct, I just said a backup system is definitely the best system to restore.
Yeah.
But I've seen successful attack where, and this interconnected system is different from organization to organization. There are situations whereby a backup system is interconnected because it wants to be a seamless backup.
Yeah, that's a disaster recovery system, right? So you're confused with the disaster recovery and backup.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it depends on organization.
Yeah.
I'm just
So
giving
an
example.
Wherever they have a disaster recovery, they obviously have the backup as well, because backup is the mandatory one. I'm coming from infrastructure background, that's why I'm sharing this knowledge. Okay. So when you have an infrastructure, the first thing is high availability, then backup, then comes with a disaster recovery solution. So you are talking about the disaster recovery solution. If you attack the disaster, there are scenarios active-passive or active-active. If you are attacking the active scenario with the backup and also the primary one, yes, both down. If you are coming up with the active passive, you can still, your replica will be there, you can stand up, but in case it is compromised, it is already compromised. But you have an immutable backup copy, that's where you can restore and continue your business.
Yes, agree.
Yeah. So we have a lot of
No,
alternate solutions.
you're right there, yes,
Yeah.
correct.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for a very engaging Q&A session. All right. To wrap up our session, I would like to invite each speaker to share in one sentence what is your key ultimate takeaway for the audience today. Starts with you, Mr. Locke. Yeah.
So maybe just one word to conclude what we have discussed about. I think the right word will be resilience. So it's gone were the days that cybersecurity is just about prevention, but we are anticipating attacks. Your response should be also incorporate how you respond, recover, and adapt to. So resilience is the word of the day for me.
Okay. Mr. Shahrul?
Yeah, I think of the potential points when you are being attacked, when your account being taken over. It happened to me last time, so don't get into that scenario. Right.
I think so scared to say something now if someone's going to argue. No, but I think the key point is inclusivity here. There are guys that are more matured in doing all these things, and there are some that's less matured. We need to understand. It's the same thing as technology when we say the old senior type of generational types human beings are more susceptible to like scams and all that. But also believe that these are the group of people that's sort of living in silo because they've never been reached to like be educated on how to do it until it happened. So my point of here is just basically understand your landscape, who are you working with, and make sure everyone's included in this journey to get cybersecurity better.
Thank you, gentlemen, for those brilliant insights. My own key takeaway as an engineer is this. As we are moving towards the remote and unmanned operation, we are more connected than ever. Cybersecurity is not just an IT course or IT task. It is essential business specification as critical as any engineering disciplines. All right. So last but not least, let's continue to build a digital future that is above all a safe one. Thank you very much. I hand it back over to Adam.